Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Wednesday, April the 2nd, 2025. On the show tonight, the carbon tax is over. There's no more carbon tax. Wait. You guys know what I'm about to say, right? Liberals all across the country and media celebrating no more carbon tax, 20 cents a liter on your fill-ups. You're going to save it, man, because the carbon tax is gone. Even though the Liberals for how many years were saying, you save money on the national carbon price. So we're going to get to all of the media and liberal and social media celebrating just a bit later on the show tonight, which, as always, is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver, CanadaNanoSilver.com. They're going to be in Calgary this weekend at the National Women's Show. We'll tell you more about that in just a second. Might want to pick yourself up some immune gummies if you're there. Simplify your daily immune support with convenient and delicious Nano Silver Immune Gummies. Each serving contains powerful triple-action Nano Silver, elderberry, vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D3. This will help supercharge your immune system. Safe and proven Nano Silver works alongside your body's own immune system to help you stay healthy and strong for everything that life throws at you. So you see this contact tab right here on the website, right in the upper right-hand corner, right there. Okay, so go to the website, CanadaNanoSilver.com. If you are in the Calgary area, or you plan to be in the Calgary area this weekend, and you want to attend the National Women's Show at Stampede Park, keep this in mind, CanadaNanoSilver.com. Now, let me show you exactly when and where it's going to be. There's Kevin and Anna, by the way, from Canada Nano Silver in the bottom right-hand corner. National Women's Show, Stampede Park, BMO Center, this weekend. Saturday, 10 till 6, and Sunday, 10 till 5. And if you want free entry into the show this weekend, Kev tells me he got some free tickets that he's willing to give away. So if you want these free tickets, then you go to the website. Once again, CanadaNanoSilver.com. Right in the upper right-hand corner there, you click the contact button and you say to Kev, hey, Kev, I'd love those tickets. And you'll be in the draw, which we're making on Thursday, tomorrow. Right? Right. So that's for people in the Calgary area or people who will be in the Calgary area this coming weekend. Hello, Giselle, watching from the Sunshine Coast tonight. Lulu is watching tonight on Facebook. Hello, Joyce. How are you? Watching on your big screen on YouTube. Big screen. How's that for you? I keep asking you guys, don't watch me on a big screen. Please don't watch me on a big screen. Overland, British Columbia is watching on YouTube as well tonight. Hello, Kathy in Bothwell, Ontario. Angela's watching from icy Toronto. Yeah, ice storm in that area. And Peterborough got a bad one the last couple of days. No power there, some people say, for 5 days. I just got off the phone with Maggie Hope Braun, our friend Maggie from Kickley, Canada. And she's been without power. Her power just came on in the past couple of hours, she tells me. Hello, Hope. How are you? Watching on Facebook. Carol Ann, Barbara, Kirk, watching on the prairies. Hello, John, watching in Dufferin, Manitoba. Robert's watching in Kelowna. Hello, Shano Vision, watching on X from Prince Edward Island over on Rumble. Who have we got on Rumble tonight? Rico Suarez, You Go Girl, Crivier, Focus 20003. The Brat Rocks, North Scotty, Belle Biv Devo, Patricia 0711, Island Luck, watching from Nassau in the Bahamas. Are you serious? Serious? Come on, man. Well, I hope you're enjoying the weather down there. I really, really do. Blood clots. Blood. Come on, man. Blood Clot is watching from Carmen, Manitoba. Mummy's Little Monster is watching on Rumble from Aurelia. Wherever you're watching from tonight, whatever platform you happen to be watching on, please don't forget to like and share. Get this out to as many people as you possibly can. All right, so let's throw this up here. Peterborough currents. Many Peterborough residents still waiting for electricity days after severe ice storm. The city's operating reception centers at 3 municipal facilities where residents can get warm, take a shower, charge their devices. Power restoration efforts are expected to continue through the week. Some people may not get power back until late tomorrow or even Friday. So, that sounds like a bit of a disaster out there in Peterborough. I have lived through ice storms like this when I was living in Kingston, Ontario, and I understand how it feels when you walk outside your front door and there's ice everywhere, covering trees and power lines and cars. You've got to try to chip 2 inches of solid ice off your car so you can even open the door. And then you hear this loud crack from behind you, and it's a branch breaking off from a tree. These ice storms can be very dangerous. So I hope everybody out there is going to be safe. I hope you guys have got generators or a place to go to in case your home does not have power. And if you're in the area and you think you might know somebody who doesn't have the ability to get out of their home, you might want to go and check on them just to see if they're okay. All right? Because those things, man, that's natural disaster. It's not all about climate change, though. These things just kind of happen. They just kind of happen. So the media has been celebrating all day today, and the Liberals celebrating, and all the Liberals celebrating on social media about the carbon tax being ended. Removal. Look at this is the headline from CTV Edmonton. Gas prices drop in Edmonton after carbon tax removal. This is an erroneous headline. We know that it's an erroneous headline because the carbon tax has not been removed. That would take an act of Parliament, and Parliament hasn't sat since before Christmas. And even still, months before that, they were not able to do anything because the Liberals refused to hand over very sensitive documents to the RCMP. What scandal was that? It's so difficult to remember exactly what scandal that involved. Was that the Winnipeg Lab scandal? Was that the slush fund scandal? It's so difficult to keep track of all of the Liberal scandals. Let's not forget about all of these Liberal scandals that happened in the past 10 years. It's not just horrible mismanagement, lying, betraying Canada, turning it into an absolute crap hole, legalizing hard drugs. letting criminals run free. No. There's all the scandals that cost us billions and billions of dollars as well that people seem to conveniently forget when an election is approaching. Look at this. Global news. Carbon tax ends. No. Carney marks the end of consumer carbon tax from CBC. No. CTV. Gas prices drop after carbon tax ends. No. This is Liberal candidate from Ottawa, Vanier, I think, or is it Gloucester? Her name is Mona Fortier, and she was filling up today and bragging about it as well. Watch this.
Hello, Ottawa, Vanier, Gloucester. It's a big day today. It's the first day that we see that the carbon tax has been canceled. So if you watched yesterday, it was $1.54 to fill your tank, and today we're at $1.34.9 to fill your tank, which makes a big difference in your pockets. So we're happy to see that Mark Carney's team is moving forward with cutting the carbon tax for consumers. And we will, of course, continue to roll out what else we'll be doing for Canadians during this election.
Thank you so much, Mona. Weren't you one of the ones just a few months ago who was yelling and screaming about the world coming to an end, a hellish end with the oceans rising and earthquakes everywhere and volcanoes spewing and storms that don't normally happen that time of year in that region happening anyway because of climate change? Look at these liberals going on and on about it just a few months ago.
Not serious about climate change, like Pierre Poilievre, then of course you don't want to do anything you don't want to put measures to fight climate change, and you know the planet and Canada can go to hell in a handbasket. He doesn't care. But if you're serious about fighting climate change, this is not the only way, but the best way of doing it.
I came to Ottawa this morning from my home province of Nova Scotia, where our communities are literally on fire. Thousands upon thousands of families have been displaced from their homes. Hundreds are watching as their homes may be turned into ashes. 8 months ago, Hurricane Fiona damaged our communities beyond measure, displacing not just homes, but sweeping people out to sea in some instances. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are peddling policies that they know will increase the level of pollution that is causing these severe weather events. We have one planet, Mr. Speaker. It is my home. It is yours. I will not stand idly by and watch it burn.
Notice they never brought any receipts, no proof, no evidence, no nothing. That climate change, if there is such a thing, man-made climate change, is causing all of these catastrophes when we've seen them happen for years and years and years. Every year that I can remember in my lifetime, there was always a hurricane season or a tornado season. It's just the way it works. But now it's all about climate change. Well, we only just discovered that it was about climate change. Oh, I get it. Right. But now, it's okay. It's okay not to have a carbon tax. It's fine. It's a divisive policy, and it was costing you too much money, even though just a few months ago we were saying, no, you get more in your pocket. You get more back than you actually pay. Well, then why am I paying it? You know who put out a great video on this today? Tiana Truthseeker. It's all over social media. She's laughing her ass off about it. Canada's not a serious country, is what she was saying. It's actually quite funny. It's only about 5 minutes. Track it down, have a look, you'll enjoy it. Lisa Raitt, former Conservative deputy leader, was on the panel on CTV today. By the way, CTV hired and then fired, I think, within a day that, what's her name? That left-wing goof. Red hair, liar, like just the worst. Calls herself a journalist. Rona Gilmore, whatever. They hired her as a fact checker. Like, talk about a credibility hit. And then they fired her after one appearance because of a backlash. So she made a video that's on X, I think, right now, crying and whining about how people didn't like her and Conservatives got her fired and blah, 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 blah. She even recorded the phone call that she had with CTV, the one that, you know, they were letting her go in, and she put it on her video. Like, good luck ever getting hired again. Rachel, good luck with that. Anyway, on the panel today with Vashi Capellos, Lisa Raitt made some very good points regarding the Liberals in their carbon tax.
All that the Liberals have done, if they zeroed it out, they haven't actually gotten rid of the infrastructure around the implementation of carbon tax. And I would just say, Vashi, how much money was spent going to the Supreme Court on this matter by all the provinces, by the federal government, to get all the way to the top in order to show that the federal government could implement their own policies in a provincial jurisdiction. And they won. And those Supreme Court justices tied themselves in pretzels to get it done. They called it an existential threat, and that if one single province didn't do it, then the whole thing was going to fall in and of itself and Canada would burn to the ground. Hey, guess what, Supreme Court? Thanks, but no thanks. We'll catch you later. But we got the power to do it, but we weren't really meaning it was actually an existential threat. Maybe an existential threat to us being elected to a fourth term, but that's about it. So given the politics, we're going to take a pass on the carbon tax this time, and maybe we'll get you later. That would be, I think, the best argument that Conservatives could put forth right now, because there's jubilation in the streets of Milton today that they don't have to pay as much for a liter of gas than they had to in the past, and I'm one of them.
The hypocrisy is absolutely amazing, isn't it? It's incredible. Now, I've been accused in the past couple or 3 days, and I don't like making myself part of the news. I really don't. Because I'm not at all. But people have been asking and asking and asking, and then accusing and accusing. You're a hypocrite. Okay, so over the weekend, in case you hadn't heard, and I put a video about this out, so you guys probably should have heard it by now. But anyway, I went to the Pierre Poilievre Canada First rally here in Winnipeg on Saturday. I did a streeter, which is what we call interview on the street with people waiting in line. My guesstimate of the crowd size would have been about 1,500 maximum, not the 3,500 they've been saying. Still, not a bad turnout. And people were jubilant. It was cold out that day. It was windy, but people were jubilant. They were wanting to see what Pierre had to say. They wanted to be a part of the energy. And then when I went into the building, now here's what I think happened, because the security, was laughable. So people suggesting there was digital facial recognition in the building, and that's how they got you, and you're on their dissident list or whatever. No. You know what the security was? There was 3 single file lines, and they asked us to open our coats. They didn't even touch us. They just looked up and down, made sure there were no bumps in our clothing, I suppose is what they were doing. And then they said, all right, go ahead. So I and 2 of my friends walked in past that security check, and I saw Marty Morantz. Marty is the Conservative MP for my riding, as a matter of fact. Now, Marty and he thinks I'm a wingnut because I talked to him at a coffee shop in my part of town. Going to be 2-3 years ago, probably now. And I said, what's with the masks and the restrictions? He got really, really animated at that stage. And he said, you don't believe you're a conspiracy theorist. I said, no, man, it's ridiculous already. This is stupid. It's dumb. Now, at that point, we didn't know a lot of the stuff that we know today. We suspected, but we didn't know. Ironically, the government knew. We didn't know. So we had that little altercation in this coffee shop. Daily Grind is what it's called. Anyway, long story short, I think Marty probably remembered me from that. And so I saw him at this thing. Within the first minute that we walked in, I said, hey, Marty, how you doing? Oh, hey. And then about a minute later, as I was standing outside the men's room waiting for my buddy to come out, I was accosted by these 2 young guys with their security earpieces in. And they said, could you come with us, sir? I said, what are you guys, security or something? Because they didn't look the part except for the earpieces. These guys were... Anyway, I went with them to the back of the room, and they said, you've been identified as a known, what was it, antagonizer? I forget exactly what the terminology was. It was insulting, to say the least. And we'd like you to leave. And if you don't leave, then the police will come and we'll have you trespassed off the property. And I said, well, what's the problem exactly? Well, you're a known agitator is what it was. I'm a known agitator. Okay, that's great. So I asked the questions. We don't have to answer your questions, sir. I said, why not? I mean, it's a simple question. I would like to know why I'm being trespassed or being asked to leave. Well, it's a private event. Actually, I would dispute that, seeing as how you were inviting the public to come into your private event. This makes it a public event. You're welcoming the public in. I did sign the waiver or whatever it is, the invitation that you sent me through email, and I'm here. Want to see the show. Sir. And then one guy starts walking towards the police who were standing just over 20 feet in the corner. And I thought, I don't want a scene here. So I just walked out and left and then recorded the video. My suspicion is that Marty Morantz was the one who told security to remove me from the event. I can't really think of anything else that it would be. Does this change my thinking on who to vote for in this election? Do I think that Pierre Poilievre was backstage secretly looking at a bank of TV monitors going, that guy's got to go? Of course not. Remember, this is this is like a concert tour when these political parties go on these campaign events. There's one event in Winnipeg at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then later on that night, there's another event in Regina at 7 o'clock. Next morning, you've got an event in Calgary at 8 o'clock. I mean, boom, 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 boom. Things get screwed up. Now, having said that, I would like some sort of... I'm not even going to ask for an apology here from the Conservative Party of Canada. Just some acknowledgement of what you guys did was wrong. I mean, I didn't do anything. So in that way, it's like a thought crime. A known agitator. Insulting. Also, considering 20 minutes before that, I was standing in the line and people were really enthused and 55,000 people saw that video. So that could only help the Conservative Party, right? Anyway, I know that a lot of you guys, thank you very much. I didn't ask anybody to do this, but I know a lot of you guys have been writing emails to your MPs, your Conservative MPs, asking what the hell happened. Reach out to Shadow, make amends, whatever. I don't care. Ultimately, the song remains the same. People were asking me, oh, see, PPC is not such a bad thing after all, is it? I said, no. This has nothing to do with me and my personal feelings regarding any political party. And by the way, just for the record, I don't trust any political party, Conservatives, PPC, Liberals, otherwise, because politicians are sketchy at best. That's the way it's always been. That's probably the way it's always going to be. But do I think that the Conservatives are the best option to stop Mark Carney? Yeah. It's the only option to stop Mark Carney. And so I still believe that we've got to get out the vote. The Conservatives must not lose this election, because if they do, Canada is doomed. On the other hand, I think there was a discussion, maybe it was with Frank Vaughan last night. By the way, if you missed that episode, great discussion with Frank. Go follow him on Twitter, X, and go watch that episode. Make sure you don't miss that episode. It was a good one last night. Anyway, the discussion was, if the Liberals win, it was Friday night, actually, with Jeff Rath from the Alberta Prosperity Project. Does Alberta leave? I would like to think, yeah, and become an independent nation, but I don't know if they can get that vote. Right now, we see a poll that says 37% of Albertans would support that, an independent Alberta. And Chris Scott from Mirror, Alberta, the other day at the Whistle Stop Cafe, was selling gas all day at 80 cents a liter. And the reason for that was that he said to people, this is the way it's going to be in an independent Alberta. 80 cents a liter. What's it now, like $1.40, $1.50, depending on what kind of cut you got today in your province with the carbon tax removal? And I thought that was a brilliant idea. It cost him thousands of dollars to do it, but still a brilliant idea. So if the Liberals win, you can expect that independence fever in Alberta to really pick up. Getting back to the federal election, do you believe the polls? I think the polls are rigged. Mark Carney can't can't catch a cold. He was in Winnipeg yesterday. There was 3 beaver buses out front of the Winnipeg Convention Center to herd people in to his rally last night. They didn't come on their own. They had to be bussed in. And even then, the room was maybe a third full. Not good for Mark Carney. But in Kingston today, Pierre Poilievre again drew a crowd. Here is the pleb on scene.
Hey, we are 1 hour and a half before the event here. Hi, guys.
Can I get a picture?
Yes. Let me just show the line. Look at this. What's up? Look at the lineup here. We're an hour and a half before the event. Look how long this lineup's going. How's it going? Hello. Oh, thank you. Hi. Look at this lineup. Oh my God, it's keep on going. And it's an hour and a half before the event starts. Yes, it is. Hello. I love it. Oh yes, look at that. Hey. I need that in my...
How are you?
I love it. I love it. How's it going? Thank you. Look at this lineup here. Let's go. Hi. All right, the lineup's still going, guys. An hour and a half before the event. It's not even started. Thank you for your service. All right, look at this lineup here. And it's we still have an hour and a half. People are lining up in liberal Kingston here, ladies and gentlemen. We finally found the back of the line. Let's go.
Who's riding as Kingston? The guy that looks like Homer Simpson. What's his name? Mark? Oh, you know who's going to tell us? Daisy and Wright Blend. They were there as well.
Daisy here. I am in Kingston, Ontario for the Pierre Poilievre Canada First Rally. The cars are lined up a kilometer at least down both sides of this street. And check out this. Here is the start. Wraps around this way. As far as the eye can see. And down around the corner. I don't even know where the end is yet. I'm headed for it. This would be what polls do not show you. Mainstream media. Exactly. Mainstream media.
Good to see you folks.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Woo! Look at that.
This is insane, guys.
Hi, I see you on Facebook.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Unbelievable.
Liberal stronghold Kingston showing up.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Thanks.
This would be the riding of Mark Garrettson, Liberal
How do you
stronghold.
guys like Mark Garrettson?
Right, Garrettson. Mark Garrettson.
Oh, I finally see the end of the line, I think.
Wow. And the door's open like half an hour ago.
Yeah, the doors opened at 6. We are half an hour after 6 in a snowstorm, Liberal stronghold of Kingston. Huge turnout here for
Good to
Pierre
see you
Poilievre
here.
Canada First Rally.
Bring it home, guys.
That is big.
See you guys.
What do you think,
Wow.
right, Glenn?
Oh, it's a lot of people here, and the line's moving.
Holy jumping, it keeps going over here. I finally found the end of the line. Here, let's take a full shot of it.
Wow.
Holy jumping. I
Holy
don't
jumping.
even begin to know how to count this many people. It wraps all the way down the building here. Unbelievable turnout. All the way down the side of the building. Here's the front. The lineup all the way down. Unbelievable turnout here.
This is the best poll that you can't fake this kind of poll. This is real support for Pierre, and we're going to win.
Canada first.
Holy jumping. We don't use that colloquialism out here in the West, but I lived in Ontario for a dozen years, and I remember that being used quite a bit. I think I was even using it because, you know, you pick up the phrases and expressions of the people that you're immersed with, right? It just kind of happens. Holy jumping. Anyway, what a massive turnout for the Pierre Poilievre Canada First Rally in Liberal Kingston. That was huge. That looked like more than Winnipeg. Tough to tell from the video angles, but still, That's a big, big, big crowd out to see Pierre Poilievre, who was speaking this morning in Toronto, and here's a bit of what he had to say.
Our economy and break our dependence. We need a serious nation-building plan to Trump-proof our economy. Mine will put Canada first. It is a plan for Canada that is richer and stronger than the one the Liberals left us. A plan to protect Canada from whatever choices, wrong choices, the President might make. So my message to President Trump is this: if you keep attacking our economy, over the next 4 years, under my Conservative government, Canada will become completely rebuilt as an economy that no longer is reliant on the Americans for everything. You will have lost your greatest trading partner and best friend. We will be a confident and strong country capable of standing on its own 2 feet, standing up to anybody that gets in our way, and moving forward to give our people back the Canadian promise. Some Liberal supporters and lobbyists have asked why I keep talking about the cost of living, housing, crime, and about the Liberal drug crisis instead of focusing exclusively on Donald Trump. My answer is this: the threat of the President's actions against Canada are serious, and I've proposed serious answers to those threats. But the struggles that Canadians are facing at home, the fear and the hurt that I hear everywhere across this land, those are real too. And I will not stop talking about these problems which predate Donald Trump and which will outlast Donald Trump if we do not act to fix them. Everyone is struggling with the cost of living. Young Canadians are stressed about never affording a home, bills they can't afford. Their parents worry that they might overdose, their children might overdose on fentanyl. And even those who are not afflicted with that scourge wonder how they'll ever move out of their parents' basement and have kids. Millions of Canadians have been living for years in what I call lives of quiet desperation. Their stories rarely make the evening news. So yes, I will be out there every day, outlining my plan to protect Canada against American tariffs. But I will also unapologetically be out there talking about my plan to build more homes, get people off drugs and into recovery, fix the budget, keep inflation down, cap immigration so we never add more people than health care, jobs, and housing, get criminals off the street. We can do all of these things. We must do all of these things at the same time as we stand up to President Trump from a position of strength.
Still not thrilled with his position on immigration or Ukraine, but again, this is the best we've got right now. I want to show you guys something here from Canadian Elections Tracker. Okay? So here are all of the parties that are registered in the country, and I think you'll find this funny. You've got the Liberals and the Conservatives and the Green and the PPC and the NDP and the Bloc, but the Marxist-Leninists still exist. Same with the Communists. The Rhinoceros Party is still there. Libertarian, Christian Heritage, Canadian Future, Animal Protections, the Centrist Party, and the Marijuana Party. And they're running 4 candidates. What have they got to complain about anymore? It's legal, man. Yeah, but it's not legal enough, dude. So what I want to show you guys here is the top part of this. Remember, there's 343 ridings, okay? They've added 5 for this election, up from 338. 337 candidates for the Liberals, 332 for the Conservatives. They fired 3 yesterday. 296 candidates for the Green Party. The PPC's got 295. The NDP has got only 242 candidates running. And I think that's odd, considering we're, 10 days into the election? We've got 3 weeks left until voting day. The Bloc, I think they've got a full slate, maybe one short. So let's go down and see where the NDP is not running here. And I'm specifically going to pick Alberta, see if they have candidates in every riding. I think they might be trying to steal some ridings where they shouldn't be able to steal them because they've agreed with the Liberals, and this is only a theory that I have. They've agreed with the Liberals to not run candidates in certain ridings. So in Airdrie, they have a candidate. In Battle River Crowfoot, they don't. We've got a Conservative candidate. We've got a Green, Liberal, and PPC, but no NDP there in Battle River Crowfoot. Bow River, we have an NDP. Calgary, we've got an NDP. Calgary Confederation, yes. Calgary Crowfoot, yes. Calgary East, yes. Calgary Heritage. Again, no NDP candidate in Calgary Heritage. Calgary McKnight's got an NDP. Calgary Midnapore, Nose Hill, Shepherd, Skyview, Signal Hill. My point is, guys, that in certain ridings across the West, there are no NDP candidates, which they think might split the vote. But interestingly, in most of the ridings that I've shown you and that I've seen myself, there are PPC candidates. So the big three parties in any of these ridings without an NDP would then be the Liberals, the Conservatives, and the PPC. I think what the NDP and the Liberal coalition is hoping for is that the PPC splits the vote with the Conservatives, allowing a Liberal to win a riding they have no business winning. Remember, when you look at the vote totals from ridings, not the seat totals, that's what happens at the end of the election. And so you say, okay, the Liberals got 160, the Conservatives got 140, and so on. But look at the vote totals in each riding. Some of these are razor thin, not so much in the West, because the Liberals and NDP split the vote. And in many cases, the Liberals and NDP combined still can't beat the Conservative candidate. But there are ridings in urban centers in the West where if the NDP wasn't running, let's just say, those NDP voters would vote Liberal, meaning that they might win some seats in Saskatchewan. I believe that's what they're doing. But how on earth do we prove it? I mean, you can't, and the NDP is supposed to be a major party in this country, and they're supposed to be running a full slate of candidates, and there's still 101 candidates short with only 3 weeks left in the campaign. That's absolutely ridiculous. Some might say, well, it's because they're broke, Shadow. Jagmeet Singh's traveling across the country in a bus. He can't even afford air travel. Okay, so how does that stop you from getting candidates who believe in your cause? It doesn't. So, in my opinion, this is being done intentionally. I think there's a deal in place with the NDP and the Liberals to not run candidates in certain ridings. Here's a great piece from Jesse Klein originally published in the National Post. Mark Carney's 5-year plan for Soviet-style housing. This is that big housing announcement that he made the other day. If we look past all the name-calling, scandals, and competing tax cuts, this election fundamentally comes down to one question. Do Canadians trust the Liberals to do now what they have failed to do over the past decade? Judging by the party's newly released housing plan, the answer should be a resounding no. We used to build things in this country, lamented Liberal leader Mark Carney in an online campaign ad released earlier this week. I played that for you guys last night. It's time your government got back into the business of building affordable homes. When was the government ever in the business of building homes in the first place? Regulating? Sure. Enticing? Yeah. But never building. That's what communist countries do. You heard that right, folks. The government that was years behind schedule and billions of dollars over budget building the Trans Mountain Pipeline, the same one that still hasn't managed to construct a single deep water port in the Arctic that was supposed to be completed in 2012, thinks it would be better at developing houses than the private sector. On Monday, the Liberals unveiled what they're dubbing the most ambitious housing plan since the Second World War. It promises, and you can do the math on this one, this is impossible, just like Trudeau's promise, which was ridiculous. It promises to build 500,000 homes a year, both through the private sector and a newly created and unimaginatively named agency called Build Canada Homes. which appears to be modeled off the Crown corporations responsible for building cookie counter houses and state-owned rental complexes during and after the war. And Carney's saying, well, those homes are still up. No, they're being demolished as we speak. Those were the homes, the flimsy homes with no basements, the ones you could put on the back of a truck and move. That kind of home, no foundation whatsoever. You could put it on skids. BCH will act as a developer developing BCH, Build Canada Homes. Developing and managing projects, provide financing to affordable home builders, acquire land to add to Canada's affordable housing stock. Oh. So what does that tell you? They want to acquire land. From where? From who exactly? From you. And how's Carney going to do this? Mario for the North put out a great video that we're going to watch in just a couple of minutes. And it has everything to do with Brookfield Asset Management. Let's continue. Acquire land to add to Canada's affordable housing stock and provide $26 billion in debt and equity financing to prefab home manufacturers from whom it will place bulk orders to create sustained demand. In addition, the agency will provide $10 billion in subsidies and loans to affordable home builders. While the Liberals claim to have lifted the strategy straight out of the playbook of William Lyon Mackenzie King, it could be more accurately described as a mix of ideas taken from Pierre Poilievre and ones that would feel right at home in an NDP platform, or for that matter, a 5-year plan developed in the Soviet Union, which was well known for building large numbers of drab apartment complexes named after Soviet leaders, the Stalinka, the Khrushchevska, and the Brezhevka. These are tenement slums, the projects. Although the idea of modeling our housing market off of North Korea is somewhat novel, if foolhardy, given that the fundamental problem is not that no one is willing to develop housing, but there are too many impediments standing in their way, as Poilievre says. Many of the promises in the Liberal plan will seem familiar to Canadians. In the 2021 election, the Grits promised to build or revitalize 62,500 homes per year on top of the 285,000 homes currently being built each year. Yet, according to Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation data, new housing construction starts haven't even met that baseline of 285,000 in the years since. In fact, they've fallen from 244,650 in 2021 to just under 228,000 last year. And this looks even worse this year. In February, the CMHC reported that actual housing starts were down 17% year over year in urban centers, while Vancouver recorded a 48% decrease, and starts in Toronto fell 68% from February of 2024. In late 2023, Liberal Housing Minister Sean Fraser, the one I showed you was ranting and raving about climate change on that video just a few minutes ago, also took a page from the post-war playbook, announcing the government would be compiling a catalog of standardized blueprints to reduce the cost and time it takes to build new homes. Over a year later, the CMHC finally released its catalog of 50 low-rise designs this month, which has already been criticized for lacking many of the amenities of modern homes and being unlikely to move the needle on affordability. But if you want an idea of what Carney's government-built houses, or Sarikas, as this guy likes to call them, will look like, the government's housing design catalog is probably a good place to start. Tenements. Exactly what we envisioned years ago when we first started hearing about the 15-minute city. The Liberal policy document does contain some good ideas, like cutting municipal development charges in half for multi-unit residential housing. Again, multi-unit residential housing, and reducing housing bureaucracy, zoning restrictions, and other red tape. Now, these are basically the same policies Poilievre has been pitching for years. Again, the question comes down to, who do we trust to actually get things done? Blah-diddy, 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 blah. What we're talking about here, you guys, is, well, this is the Century Initiative. This is the Great Reset. This is the culmination of the mega city zones that I showed you the other night, that I'm going to show you again in just a couple of minutes, and how they want this country to look by the year 2100. And the road to get there is not going to be any prettier than that. So Mario for the North came up with this great video. How is Carney going to do this exactly? Watch this. It's 5 minutes.
I figured it out last night, but I figured it out this morning. Just a few days ago, Mark Carney had announced that he's going to pledge to get the feds back into the business of building homes. And I have to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever heard of a government of a G7 country getting into the business of building homes. I thought it was odd. I couldn't figure out how he could do that, especially when Mark Carney pledged that he would build 500,000 homes per year. It made no sense to me until I dug in a bit more. I'm calling it now. This is how he would do it, through Brookfield. They are literally in the business of building multifamily units. And if you go on their website, they tell you that they manage over 42,000 units and they have over 9,000 units in development pipelines. And they do that in 4 countries. Now, here's the odd thing. I count 1, 2, 3 countries, but I couldn't figure out where the 4th is because this is the map of the world. This is where it says Explorer Properties. And sure enough, they're doing it already in Canada. This is Toronto, this is Montreal, and they have some in Vancouver. When I focused in Toronto, it looks like it's just one pin. So I figured, you know what, maybe they have one property. They don't. They actually have substantial properties. This is just in the downtown core. There's some that are more north of this that I'm not going to show, just for the sake of time. This is where it gets interesting. That same webpage, I used it and I put it in the Wayback Time Machine. And I took a look at what they wrote and how significantly it had changed from the website that exists today. This was not even a year ago. This number is now 50% more, and this has nearly doubled. They are ramping up their business of owning multifamily and developing multifamily units. Remember that word, development. Because see here it says at Brookfield Properties, we develop and lease multifamily units across the United States. But it's not just the United States, it's also Canada. As you all know, affordability is a massive issue in Canada. So the concept of having these corporations own so many homes and individuals compete with these corporations for these homes is obviously a contentious issue. My belief is that this is exactly why when you click on this link in the Wayback Time Machine, it actually shows you their leadership team. That doesn't exist on the website today. And I truly believe they removed that with the purpose of not showing their team. I'm not going to do that in this video. That's not the purpose of it. Here's my point. This was all happening while he was the chairman of Brookfield. Brookfield Properties is owned by Brookfield Asset Management. Mark Carney is so grossly conflicted, he refused to disclose exactly how many options and how many shares he owns of Brookfield. You have to keep in mind that he has approximately $6 million in stock options in Brookfield that have been put into a blind trust. It may actually be significantly more than that. He never disclosed that to the public. He simply said, I'm just following ethics rules. And the ethics rules didn't necessarily apply to him because he is not an elected official. He's not a member of parliament. If he were, he would have had to disclose that beforehand. But before any of that could happen, let's assume he wins a seat, he proactively hid all of his assets into a blind trust without telling anyone what they were. And he's saying, I'm following the rules. This is the loophole that Pierre Poilievre wants to close. Because here's the reality of it. The government does not have the manpower, the resources, or the knowledge to build multifamily units at the scale of what they're talking about in order to make affordable housing. Government works in partnership with private sectors, and I truly believe that this contract would literally go to Brookfield. They have the money, they have the team, they have the expertise, and they will pay them a management fee in order to execute on this. I'm using air quotes because I don't know what other kind of fees there would be on top of it. But again, I couldn't figure it out last night how it would be possible for the government to execute this until I started digging deeper and I realized Brookfield would be the answer to that. And here's a perfect example why I truly believe Mark Carney would have zero issues doing this. When he was named the head of economic advisor, this is before he became the prime minister, Trudeau said, you're going to help Chrystia Freeland and you're going to be the chief economic advisor to our task force. Within 1 week, he asked the Liberal Party of Canada if they could manage $10 billion on behalf of taxpayers. And again, just like the article points out, due to an unusual hiring arrangement, Carney is shielded from the usual ethics disclosures required of prime ministerial advisors. He had zero issues with ethics then, he will have zero issues with ethics now. And I honestly believe the way he would do it is he would say, we put out a bid, we put out a tender, we looked at a variety of factors, this was done independently of me. I had nothing to do with this decision. I created this task force to actually be in charge of it, and it just so happened that they elected Brookfield. I'm calling it. This is exactly how it would go down.
He makes a good point, and now here's Mark Carney talking about affordable housing.
Home. You're going to be able to afford a home, just like I could afford a home. You've got a future. We're going to build a future. We're building a future for you guys right here. Oh my God. This is why I'm in this, actually, right there. We are also going to find some new friends. This is at the core of why this election is so important. You take a few lessons from the last few months. We take a few lessons.
Oh, you can see the goof Adam Vancouver Den standing behind him. By the way, just in case you're wondering who the dweeb is.
One of them is that we really have to look out for ourselves. We understand how to grow the economy, and we will grow this economy. We understand how we can build and build together. No. But we also understand why.
You don't?
Yes, it's for the good jobs and great futures for younger Canadians. Yes, it's for a sustainable economy and future here. But it's also for those who are less fortunate than we are. For the 8 million Canadians, 20% of our population that cannot afford it, aren't going to the dentist. 8 million Canadians. The great thing is that Adam is buying. Let's go to the bar. Thank you very much.
Good job, man.
So I've shown you the lineups of Poilievre's rally in Kingston today and showed you the video from the Winnipeg rally. And even though I do believe they've been inflating the numbers a little bit, they're still getting way more people out there than Liberals are getting, than Mark Carney is getting. But the polls remain worrisome. And I found this video today. I'm not sure exactly where it was, Instagram or maybe X or even TikTok. And I'm not sure if this woman is kidding or not. But it worried me because I know that there are a lot of women just like her in this country. Watch this.
Is me, or is Mark Carney kind of hot? Like, he's kind of good looking, right? He's well spoken. I can listen to every word he has to say. And that smile, and he plays hockey, and he's educated. I mean, it's not just me, right?
I hope it's just you. There's a lot of white liberal women in our big cities, and they all vote Liberal. That's the worry. Bright side, if the Liberals do win this thing, Alberta votes to separate, and we should all be making plans to move to Alberta. Don't you think? Century Initiative. This is from Wikipedia. Now, sometimes you guys, you don't have to go very deep to research it all. All you need to do is hit on Wikipedia occasionally. The Century Initiative is a Canadian lobby group that aims to increase Canada's population to 100 million by the year 2100. This includes increasing the population of mega regions, which are interlocking areas with more than one city center and a typical population of 5 million or more. Greater Toronto, Greater Vancouver, National Capital Region, blah, 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 blah. The Liberals love the Century Initiative. It was voted for in the House of Commons and passed with the Liberals and NDP a few years ago. Poilievre says the Conservatives voted against it. The founders of this particular group, Dominic Barton and Mark Wiseman. Mark Wiseman has just been hired as a campaign advisor to Mark Carney. Apparently those two know each other from before. And Dominic Barton was a very key player from McKinsey in the Trudeau Liberal government for the past 10 years. Let's move along here. The Century Initiative, according to the Population Institute Canada.ca, is a blueprint for a bigger, broken Canada. Why is growth in your city exploding? Have you noticed? Even in smaller cities? Most Canadians have probably never heard of the Century Initiative. It operates behind the scenes. It received a measure of public scrutiny only in the past few years, not even that, when the impact of Canada's population explosion became too evident to ignore. And remember, a lot of this was going on during the peak of the COVID restrictions. All these people were just kind of piling into our country, creating more congestion, which would make it easier for a virus to spread, right? But no, come on in anyway. You don't have to be vaccinated. Founded in 2011, the Century Initiative obtained charitable status in 2014, which it managed to retain upon becoming a registered lobby group in 2021, having somehow persuaded the Canada Revenue Agency that it operates in the interest of Canadians. While Canadians may be in the dark about the Century Initiative, they're acutely feeling its impact on their lives. For one thing, they're sharing the country with millions more people than in all likelihood would have been the case were it not for the efforts of this organization. Canadians are bewildered about Canada's immigration policies. Why, for example, the Trudeau government is bringing in extraordinarily high numbers of newcomers when Canada is still pulling itself out of the morass of the COVID pandemic. It would do well to inform themselves about the Century Initiative, annual population growth. Look at this. Since 2016, the year after Trudeau took power, boom, 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 goes down a little bit the first year of COVID, goes right back up in the second year, 2022 and 2023. Look at that. An annual average of 612,300 newcomers to Canada. Comparison with U.S. annual growth rates illustrates how radical Canada's immigration policy has become. Canada's red, U.S. is blue. Now, this is the part that is worrisome. And again, this isn't supposed to be until 2100, but we're on the path. The Century Initiative's vision of a bigger, bolder Canada would see existing cities grow into mega regions of previously unimagined proportions. The Greater Toronto Area would grow from 8.8 million to 33.5 million. Montreal from 4.4 to 12.2. Vancouver and environments would grow 3.3 to 11.9. Calgary and environs would grow from 2.8 to 15.5 million. As a matter of fact, they envisioned Calgary, Edmonton, Red Deer, that whole corridor, Highway 2, just merging into one big megalopolis. The National Capital Region, Ottawa, would grow from 1.4 to 4.8 million, and the city of Winnipeg would grow from 850,000, as it is now, city proper, to roughly 1.8 million, which is not ridiculous, but still a lot of population growth. They want, in my opinion, and I was talking about to Maggie about this earlier, just before the show started tonight. They want to move rural people into the cities. And how are they doing that? They're doing cattle culls. They're doing bird culls. The famous one being the ostrich farm in British Columbia, Universal Ostrich Farm. And that case is still, right now, not moving, which is good news. They're doing it with fertilizer regulations. They're doing it with land use regulations in rural areas. And people in rural areas, while not pleased with these new regulations, don't seem to understand exactly where they're coming from. They're coming from ICLEI. They're coming from the United Nations. Even city councilors, town councilors, municipal councilors have no concept of what it is they're doing. They cannot fathom the magnitude of this. And that's one of the things that Maggie is trying to show them as she goes municipality to municipality, trying to open eyes all across the country. I fear it may be too late. If Mark Carney gets into power, you're not going to be able to afford to live in rural Ontario, rural Saskatchewan, rural British Columbia anymore. They're going to make it too expensive. They're going to also take away your ability to drive. How are they going to do that, Shadow? They're not going to repair any of the roads. They're just going to leave them until they cave in on themselves. They're not going to plow the snow in the wintertime. They're not going to take care of that. Or they're going to come onto your property and they're going to say, that well is polluted and needs to be replaced. And it's on you to do it at a cost of $50,000 in the next 3 weeks. They're going to make it absolutely unaffordable for anybody to live in rural areas. But here's a great opportunity for you. You can sell to Brookfield Asset Management your entire property at this fair market price, and we've got a place for you in the city. Just come into the city. And here, look at this place. And they're going to make it look beautiful in the brochure. But it's a tenement house. Like the kind of tenement houses that you saw in movies set in New York in the 1920s. With the steam coming out of them, where you can hear your neighbor taking a leak at 3 o'clock in the morning because the walls are paper thin. That's what they want. But it's about your safety. It's about the environment's safety. Pretty soon there's going to be travel restrictions as well. That's the plan. That's the 15-minute city model. That is the Wildlands Project, and that is what Mark Carney wants. Remember, this guy is the biggest globalist out there. The Conservative Party says he lied again. Sneaky Mark Carney. That sounds like a lame Donald Trump nickname. Sneaky Mark Carney has been caught in yet another lie. Today in the National Post, it reported that Carney hadn't resigned from all of his roles at international organizations, even though he told Canadians on January 16th that, I have resigned from all of my positions, full stop. But Mark Carney is not being honest with Canadians. He continues to sneakily work as the president of the London-based Chatham House. He also remains listed as a member of the Peterson Institute, as well as working for the International Advisory Board of the Blavatnik School of Government. What's Chatham House? Once again, we go onto Wikipedia and we see that Chatham House, or the Royal Institute of International Affairs, is a British think tank based in London, England. Its stated mission is to help governments and societies build a sustainably secure, prosperous, and just world. And it's the originator of the Chatham House rule. So let's go ahead and see exactly what this is all about. The Chatham House rule. Chatham House is the origin of the non-attribution rule known as the Chatham House rule, which provides that a participant in a meeting, this is like Bilderberg's, may discuss the content of this meeting in the outside world, but may not discuss who attended nor identify what a specific individual said. The Chatham House rule evolved to facilitate frank and honest discussion on controversial or unpopular issues by speakers who may not have otherwise had the appropriate forum to speak freely. However, most meetings at Chatham House are held on the record rather than under the Chatham House rule. But good luck ever seeing what those records say. One more thing I have for you guys tonight, and that is this video here. But I'm going to throw up the story first. I hope I've got it. I don't. Okay. So I'm just going to take that off the screen. Young lady. Let me just find the video here. This is about the trans thing. Here it is here. Okay. So young lady competing in a female fencing competition took a knee when she discovered that her opponent was a male who just last year was competing in male fencing events, and here's video of that. That's a boy there, by the way, the one she's talking to. That's a male. So what happened here is that she took a knee. She did not want to fence against a man. Dude with the suit and the clipboard came over. She explained her situation. He immediately turns away to ask what to do. So let's continue. He tells her that she's been disqualified and she needs to leave the premises. Isn't that absolutely sickening? Still happening. I did find the story from MrCTV.org. The Independent Council on Women's Sports Icons is sharing a new video of a female fencing athlete being disqualified for refusing to face off against a male opponent. After receiving a black card for refusing to compete against a man, Redmond Sullivan's female opponent was expelled from the U.S. fencing event at the University of Maryland over the weekend. Sullivan fenced for the men's team at Wagner College last season before switching to the women's team this season. USA Fencing and the NCAA have had a long history of taking opportunities away from female athletes like this, Icons posted. Sullivan gained notoriety after quickly winning medals after changing from the men's to the women's fencing team at Wagner College for the 2024-25 season. Those who advocate for biological men to be in women's sports would rather people bend the knee and accept their gender delusions than have women take the knee and remove themselves from their dangerous insanity. Still happening. Part 2 of Europa, the final battle, is on the extension tonight for you all accessors. It will not be broadcast on Telegram. To see this tonight, you need to be a member at shadowdavis.com. So become one. It's like $11 or $12 a month, and all the extra content you guys get is absolutely worth it. I'll see you there in 2 minutes, and for the rest of you guys, I love you all. I appreciate you all. You know I do. I'll catch you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central, for another Shadow at Night live stream. Bye for now.